Wonderful. Welcome, everyone. A special welcome to you joining us from afar. We're glad you're here with us in this lovely day. We're having a very unusual August day here in the Pacific Northwest, where actually I contemplated wearing a sweater. And I basically said, it's August. No. So we have a special guest today for our musician, J.P. Falcon Grady, and he's going to lead us in an opening song. Welcome. Welcome.
Good morning. How's everyone doing? All right. Open up with little Johnny Cash there for y'all. Help me out here, too. I remember when I was a lad, the times were hard and things were sad. But there's a silver lining behind every cloud. Just four people, that's all we were. Trying to make a living off of flat black dirt. We'd get together in a family circle, we'd sing out loud. Daddy sang bass, Mama sang tenor, me and little brother would join right in. Singing seems to help a troubled soul. One of these days, it won't be long, I'll rejoin them in a song. I'm gonna join that family circle at the throne. May the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. Daddy sang bass, Mama sang tenor, me and little brother would join right in the sky, Lord, in the sky. I remember when we were out, Mama would call in all of us, and you could hear us singing for a country mile. Little brother, he's done gone on, but I'll rejoin him in a song. I'm gonna join him up yonder in a while. Daddy sang bass, Mama sang tenor, me and little brother would join right in. Singing seems to help a troubled soul. One of these days, it won't be long, I'll rejoin them in a song. I'm gonna join that family circle at the throne. May the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by. Daddy sang bass, Mama sang tenor, me and little brother would join right in the sky, Lord, in the sky. In the sky, Lord, in the sky. Thank you.
Well, why don't we stand if we're able and greet some of our neighbors today. Say hi. Okay, yeah. Yeah, no, I won't fall off. All right, everybody, have a seat. Have a seat. No kids.
No kids?
Yeah, so we don't need to do that.
Okay.
Okay. Well, today we have no children, which is always sad for me. I love having a multi-generational experience, but Joe's probably relieved because our other teacher got sick, and so he's stepping in. If you see any kids, send them his way. He's got a Frisbee in his hand and a cool hat on. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite Wanda up, and she will give us our opening prayer.
In case you weren't aware, the children's song is always the cue for the person to get up here. And here I am, and I'm so glad to see each one of you here with your smiling faces and your loving and open heart. And now please, if you will, join me in a prayer. Oh, what a wonderful, wonderful present we receive every time we walk in the door here in this beautiful, blessed sanctuary. And a breath in now to breathe in all the love and the light, the joy, the peace and the power, the harmony, the truth of being. And my spirit within feels this. My whole body responds with love. My whole path is laid out with the light of the joy that we're sharing together today. And whatever my life calls for, a transformation of any kind, I know that's where I can go, inside, the spirit within, never leaving, never ceasing, never sleeping. And I am ready and open to receive the wonderful shared blessing that Dr. Andrea will be bringing to us in her talk today. And I say thank you, and all who wish to join me in knowing this as their prayer as well. Please join with me now in saying, and so it is. Thank you.
Well, J.P. Falcon Grady has blessed us a number of times by coming and being our special guest, and I'd like to invite him back up to give us a special song today.
In 2008, I quit drinking, and thank you. But through my journey with that, I've met other people going through the same process. This song makes a combination of some of the women who I met through recovery, and some folks have actual diamonds they hold precious. And to them, these women, just being better and being a better mother was their diamonds. She's flying ever closer to the ground and flying to find her way back home again. Swore she'd never roam again. She's trying to bring it back to what it was before, what it was before, her dirty little war. She won't fight it anymore. She found diamonds shining, broken bottles off the floor. ever faster than before. She bends and twists like the winds that brought her home again. Ooh, she goes spinning round again, and she's laughing so much louder than before, and not a whisper. Oh, 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 but a roar. One giggle, and it'll knock you to the floor. She found diamonds shining, broken bottles off the floor. I've been waiting, I've been wishing. She's smiling so much brighter than before. It lights up the full moon, the sun, and more. It's much brighter than before. She's crying so much softer than before. The tears are real, poured right from her very soul. It's raining silver and gold, with those diamonds shining, broken bottles. I've been waiting, I've been wishing. She's flying, she's flying, flying.
Thank you very much. So, I do research for my talks, and I came across a story I'd never heard. It has very little to do with what I'm actually going to talk about, but it's a really cool story. Would you like to hear it? Okay. I've never heard it, and it's about David Bowie. So, cool, right? You haven't even heard it yet. All right, so a man named Neil Gaiman told this story to this friend, and he at the top of the story he says, "This isn't my story. This is Neil's story. This isn't my story. This is Neil's." And so I'm going to read you the whole thing. It's because it kind of contextualized the story. My friend told me a story he hadn't told anyone for years. When he used to tell it years ago, people would laugh and say, "Who'd believe that? How can that be true? That's daft." They're from England, as you might now know. So he didn't tell it again for years. But for some reason last night, he knew it would be just the kind of story I would love. When he was a kid, he said, they didn't use the word autism. They just said, quote unquote, shy, or isn't very good at being around strangers or lots of people. But that's what he was and is, and he doesn't mind telling anyone. It's just a matter of fact with him. And sometimes it makes him sound a little and act a little different, but that's okay. Anyway, when he was a kid, it was in the middle of the 1980s, and they were still saying, quote unquote, shy or withdrawn rather than autistic. He went to London with his mother to see a special screening of a new film. He must have won a competition or something. Some of the details he couldn't quite remember, but he thinks it must have been London they went to. And the film, maybe you'll recognize this, the film is one of my all-time favorites. It's a dark, mysterious fantasy movie. Every single frame is crammed with puppets and goblins. There are silly songs and a goblin king who wears clingy silver tights and who kidnaps a baby, and this is what kickstarts the whole adventure. You know which one? Yeah. My kid's favorite too. It was Labyrinth, of course, and the star was David Bowie, and he was there to meet the children who had come to see this special screening. I met David Bowie once, was the thing my friend said that caught my attention. You did? When was this? I was amazed and surprised, too, the casual way he kind of brought the revelation out. Almost anyone else would have told the tale a million times already. He seemed surprised I would want to know, and he told me the whole thing completely out of order. He told the story as if he'd been on an adventure back then, and he wasn't quite allowed to tell the story. Like there was a pact or a magic spell surrounding it, as if something profound and peculiar would occur if he broke the confidence. It was 30 years ago, and all us kids who'd loved Labyrinth then and who still love it now are all middle-aged. And saddest of all, the Goblin King is dead. Does the magic still exist? I asked him what happened on his adventure. I was withdrawn, more withdrawn than other kids. We all got a signed poster, and because I was so shy, they put me in a separate room to one side, and so I got to meet him alone. He'd heard I was shy, and it was his idea. He spent 30 minutes with me. He gave me this mask, this one. Look. He said, this is an invisible mask, you see. He took it off his face and looked around like he was scared and uncomfortable. All of a sudden, he passed me his invisible mask. Put it on, he said. It's magic. So I did. Then he told me, I always feel afraid, just the same as you. But I wear this mask every single day, and it doesn't take the fear away, but it makes it feel a bit better. I feel brave enough then to face the whole world and all the people. And now you will too. I sat there in his magic mask, looking through the eyes of David Bowie, and it was true. I did feel better. Then I watched as he made another magic trick, a magic mask. He spun it out of thin air, out of nothing at all. He finished it and smiled, and then he put it on. And he looked so relieved and pleased. He smiled at me. Now we've both got invisible masks. We can both see through them perfectly well, and no one would know we're even wearing them. I felt incredibly comfortable. It was the first time I felt safe in my whole life. It was magic. He was a wizard. He was a goblin king, grinning at me. I still keep the mask, of course. I kept asking my friend questions, amazed by his story. I loved it and wanted all the details. How many kids? Did they have puppets from the film there? What was David Bowie wearing? I imagined him in his lilac suit from Live Aid, or maybe he was dressed as the Goblin King in lacy ruffles and cobwebs and glitter. What was the last thing he said to you when you had to say goodbye? David Bowie said, I'm always afraid, but this is how you can feel brave in the world. Isn't that an amazing story? Yeah. I've always loved David Bowie, but he's super weird, right? And that just made me love him more. So let me tell you what I'm going to be speaking about, and probably there's a tie-in somewhere because I usually don't just bring a random story. And I know the reason I found it, I was looking for this one particular story, and never found it. So anyway, what am I talking about today? This month, as part of a larger theme for the year, Living a Beautiful Life, is about transformation at the base. And at the base means in the deepest part of ourselves, transforming ourselves. And so today's topic is simply transformation. And one of the most famous quotes that one of my teachers coined was this: no mud, no lotus. Because as you know, lotuses have their feet deep down in the ponds where all the scummy mud is. And that's where they gain their nourishment and their ability to rise up through the water and become these incredible, beautiful flowers that represent transformation and unfolding in many cultures. So I wanted to bring to you one of the big, huge ideas that transformed my life long ago once I got into the science of mind philosophy, and continues to be how I live as much as possible. And it's a really hard concept. So I don't talk about it that often because almost always if I talk about it, someone comes up and says, well, but, and so it's like, well, I'll find a different way to talk about it, so they don't do that. But today I'm going to be straight up with you. So no complaining, okay? No buts. just take it from me. And I'm speaking from personal experience. And imagine if you talk to the practitioners who are wearing the stoles, they will tell you the same story. The lesson is to take 100% responsibility for everything. And that's where the but comes in. Well, but I had crappy parents. Well, but I was born in poverty. Well, but, and it goes on and on and on, because those things are real. Taking 100% personal responsibility doesn't make those things go away. And I think that's helpful to understand, is that that's not what that means. Remember that responsibility is a word that actually means to be able to respond. That's what responsibility actually is. And so 100% personal responsibility is possible for all of us. We are 100% able to respond to the situations of our life and the circumstances. And it's in that magical place of taking 100% responsibility that we begin to actually move from what often feels like being victimized into a place of tremendous creativity and the ability to live free. And so, I think when I was first studying the science of mind, it was the era of EST. Anybody remember EST? Yes, and live stream and all those. And I had bought a book by a man named Ron Smotherman, who had been in EST and was writing. And I was pregnant with my second child. And I can remember exactly where I was. I was laying on a lounge chair reading this book, and I got to the chapter on parents. And it was 1 page long, I think. And it said, so did you know your parents, let's see, how did it go? You know your parents did it right if you survived. Did you survive? And went on from there a little bit, but basically that was the message. It's like, you survived, and now it's on you. Now it's up to you to make of your life what you will. And you could stay in the terrible stories, because many of us have terrible stories. Or you could think of it as mud and think of yourself as a lotus, right? And so that moment, I can just remember hoping that this unborn child of mine, when they were an adult, I thought, I'll save this book. and I'll give it to them with the page marked. Because I could already see that no matter what I did, there was going to come a time when my child was going to go, you didn't do it right, and here's the book. You survived, right? I did my job. But seriously, to take 100% personal responsibility doesn't mean about what happened to me, but rather how I respond to it as I grow and develop. And so, Ram Dass, one of my favorite teachers when I was growing up in spirituality, one of his messages was very similar, and what he said is everything in your life is a vehicle for transformation, for your personal transformation. Use it. Use it. And so, these messages were coming at me when I was in my 20s. And it was great because what I did then was I go, well, all right, I'll use them. So every time something would happen, I might forget right at first. I can remember the time that I tried to be a videographer for the first time and produce a film about youth camp for the youth. And it was bloody awful. And I was crushed, I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. Oh, I failed. And, I had a sleepless night and I was tossing and turning. Did anybody ever have anything like this? And then I woke up in the morning and went, well, you're not a videographer, you're a minister. Hello, hire someone who knows how to do this. But, it takes kind of walking into situations that are difficult to appreciate Ram Dass's message, that these difficult situations actually have the possibility of being the places of personal transformation, and often in ways that are unexpected and wonderful, with hindsight. So you probably remember that there are 4 stages of consciousness that we teach. They used to be called the 4 kingdoms, and then we got really PC and stopped calling them kingdoms, because what about all the queens? So now it's stages of consciousness. And the first stage of consciousness is victim. It's feeling as though life is done unto me. And we all probably have folks in our life that, they're really hard to be around, because no matter what, it's somebody else's fault. There's blame. We just recently had a house guest that actually announced that his claim to fame was being a champion complainer. I was like, uh-oh. This is a long 5 days. And so this first stage of consciousness is marked by a complete sense of disempowerment. Everything is out of my control. And how awful is that feeling? I bet we all have had that. Because these stages of consciousness, sort of like the 5 stages of grief, you don't just do them like first there's 1, and then there's 2, and then there's 3. No, we're all over the map with these things, and all of us move in and out of these stages. And so I certainly can go to victim, but fortunately, because it feels so yucky now, I just kind of go, no, don't stay there. No. 100% personal responsibility. Let's see what I can do with this. The second stage is when we begin to move ourselves in the direction of empowerment. And maybe for the first time in our lives, we begin to feel this sense of capacity. Like, I can do this life. I can make this life happen the way that I would like it to be. I'm not stuck. I'm not trapped. I can do things. And I can do things because I have personal power, and I'm connected to a source that responds to me. And so we move in that direction, and all of a sudden we start manifesting parking spaces at Trader Joe's, or even better, Costco. And we start actually feeling like, wow, I have the ability to do things in life and make them happen. And so this grand beautiful creatorship starts to happen. And for me, this is the interest. It's, long ago, the manifestation part was like, that's nice. But for me, the real juice of this second stage of consciousness was the ability to actually vision and plan and have it show up and feel as if I was creative and creating. Very powerful stage. It's especially powerful if you have had experiences like I have that are very difficult. And to be able to take those and almost like David Bowie, I'm tying it in. Even like David Bowie, making another invisible mask out of thin air, we take these really tremendous, sometimes traumatic experiences, and we begin to create out of them power, being empowered instead of being victimized by them. We actually take them and create something out of them even better in our lives, even better. And as we practice that, we begin to move into the third stage of consciousness, which is really, in recovery circles, it's the stage where you realize that actually all along, no matter what our personal ego was saying, there is something that is vast, that's an energy that's flowing through that actually has got this, has got us. And that as we surrender into that, I was using the metaphor of a vast energetic river below the surface of our being that we can draw up from. As we surrender into that, we don't surrender our creativity, we don't surrender empowerment, but what we do is we actually surrender the ego's need to always be right and to have it exactly as we think it should be, and instead allowing something even better than that, because this vast energetic field knows even more than we do. It's amazing that way. And the last stage, of course, is when we have this, I'm sure you've had it, where we have moments of complete oneness with life, with another person, with spirit, and there's this unity that comes over us. And sometimes it's just a flash of a moment, but it's transforming, because all of a sudden we're not alone, we're not separate, we're one with everything. And I know many of us here find that happening in nature, where we'll just be out on a walk and all of a sudden we're not walking. We are being walked with and in and as. Very powerful state. So pragmatically, what happened to me as I began to take 100% personal responsibility more and more is I began to realize what Eckhart Tolle talks about. And I don't know if you read The Power of Now, but in there he so succinctly captures what I figured out kind of slowly. He said, in any situation that's difficult, you only have 3 choices. And these are the choices. Remove yourself from the situation, change it, or accept it totally. And all those suck. When you're in the middle of a really dark night, it's like, I don't want any of those. I just want it to go away, and it doesn't work that way. You've noticed, right? And so instead, really knowing that, okay, I have choices here. And they are legitimate choices. I can legitimately change this. I can legitimately say, oh, this just isn't for me, and leave. Those of us who were raised to be super, super nice, do I have any Canadians in the audience? I must have lived real close to the border, because I got that one too. It's harder to say, this isn't for me, I need to go. But it's a legitimate choice that sometimes needs to be made. And lastly, there's acceptance. Not accepting like capitulating and going back into victim, but rather realizing that, all right, this is what is. We had a woman that came here for years. Her name was Marge. And remember Marge? Mm-hmm. And Marge was a student of one of the Thai Buddhist monks. And she learned from him to say whenever she was in a real difficult spot, oh, so this is what it is. Oh, so this is what it is. And so as her body began to fail, she would show up here and she'd be in her wheelchair and she'd be dancing in the wheelchair. And Marge was a character, right? And so she'd just take hold of that wheelchair and she'd be boogieing with whoever was playing. And then she couldn't do that anymore. And so this is what it is. And then she landed in assisted living. So this is what it is. And then she couldn't swallow. And one of the last things she said to me was, and this is what it is. That's acceptance at a different level than capitulating and just giving up. That's a recognition that, all right, this really is what's happening, and I have capacity to accept it. I can't reject it. This is what the body's doing. So a very powerful state. So for me, this transformed every situation, really, when I remembered. That's the tricky thing, isn't it? You're in the middle of an altercation, or I try really hard not to be in those, but you're in the middle of something, and, everything in you is like fight, flight, or freeze, I'm a freezer. So I just kind of go, well, like a bunny in the middle of the road, and the car's going, move, 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 I'm going to hit you, and the bunny's like, oh. In those moments, cultivating the ability to be able to respond from a deeper place than the amygdala would have you do is a very powerful thing. And it's practice, practice, practice. In situations that are not as dire, that are not as difficult, where you can actually sort of kind of go, okay, this is a situation where I can practice. Dr. Andrea says practice. Okay, this is one of them. So you may be in the coffee room after service and get to practice. Now remember, it's not get to practice. It's, okay, I'm going to practice 100% being able to respond. Because just like Neil in the story, there's something in all of us that has difficulty with new people or in large groups, or you name your favorite. All of us have stuff like that. And it's a place of practice. That's what Ram Dass would say. That's what I say. It's like, hey, why not use our lives to actually build into surrender and opening to something that's so vast that it knows how to do all of it with ease, with grace, with beauty. Because that's what begins to happen as we practice transforming our lives one situation at a time, is more love begins to flow. We're not trapped in fear. We don't need an invisible mask. Tied it in again. We can actually, I knew there was a reason. We can actually, begin to play in the field of our lives freely. And that's ultimately the goal for me, is freedom, peace, joy, compassion, love, kindness, flowing so freely that no matter what the situation is, I don't lose my mind and act out in some other way that really is not even in my best interest, much less anybody else's. Do you follow? Okay, so before I close, I'm going to tell you one more story, and I'll tell you why it's important. It's a Nasruddin story. Nasruddin, you may remember, was the great Sufi fool. And he was a fool only in that he was pointing out what we all have in us. And so one night, Nasruddin's neighbor came upon Nasruddin on the ground under a street light, groping around. And the neighbor said, Nasruddin, Mullah Nasruddin, what are you doing? Can I help you? And Nasruddin looked up and said, I've lost my keys to my house. Oh, okay. And so they covered the ground. I mean, he took one quarter and Nasruddin took the other, and then they switched, and they couldn't. Finally, the neighbor said, Mullah, I can't, we've done everything. They're not here. And Nasruddin looked at him for a minute and said, oh no, they're in the house. There's just more light out here. the reason I'm telling you this story is that one of the delightful lessons that I've learned from taking responsibility is not to be afraid to go into the dark house to find the keys, and not to keep putting myself out in the light where they won't ever be found. You know what that is? That's the place where we put everything so we don't have to deal. Maybe you don't have that. I do. And so this is a fantastic teaching story about, hey, where do we really need to find ourselves? So I'll do a prayer for that, and we'll go into a wonderful song and offertory. I am so blessed to have this life, this very life, in this very body. I'm so blessed to have an awareness that there is much more to me than the outer appearance that this body is. And as I turn within and really connect with the deep indwelling spirit that I am, I recognize that my spirit is connected to the spirit that is flowing beautifully, vibrantly in me, as me, and through me. And the same is true for everyone listening. There is this powerful flow of vibrant energy that knows its own beautiful, energetic, and offers it to each of us fully all the time. And so as I turn and remember that in myself, I remember that this outer life that I'm living is completely a manifestation of this spirit, all of it. And that every person and every situation, everything that I do, every single thing that I encounter is made up of this spirit, manifesting at different levels of awareness, manifesting in beauty and not. And my remembrance is that I have no control over anybody else's experience, only my own. And of that, I have 100% ability to respond fully, no matter what the situation, from the deepest level of compassion and kindness and clarity that in that moment I have. As I remember this, I now accept that spirit in me knows that that is my goal, my purpose, my desiring, to be available in every situation and bring the highest of me to that situation, every time, all the time. And because this incredible spirit is responsive, I now know that I am supported in this goal, this idea of showing up, being available, being present as much as I can in every day, in every moment, to myself and to every situation I find myself in. I know that not only that, but I'm guided by this delightfully intelligent, powerfully loving presence. And more, I become that as I open. And the same is true for everyone listening. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity of this life all the way through. I'm grateful to be sharing it with you and to know for all of us that indeed the presence within is powerful and moving and available all the time so that we can bring our true best selves into every single situation. And so it is. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'm going to invite Shelley and Steve, our ushers of the day, to come forward with the offertory baskets. Thank you ahead of time for the wonder of your generosity in making the center such a beautiful place to be. So many of you giving in so many ways. And J.P. Falcon is going to be offering a song while we do that.
The song here is called The Offering. I slowly cross the sky for the winter. I dance upon the wind and through the trees and the love, a whisper from my heartbeat. Steady is the North Star in my dream. This is my offering. This is my offering. I'll stay out till the night turns into morning, finding shelter from the rain, giving thanks to those who've given and given freely. To the earth I offer you my body. To the sky I offer you these wings. To my love I offer up my soul. I offer up to you my soul. Come baby fly. Yes, all my life. My eyes slowly span the night. Feel the ice forming on the tips of my wings, but the warmth is steady flowing from my passion. The will to survive is always strong. I'll stay out till the night turns into morning, finding shelter from the rain, giving thanks to those who've given and given freely. To the earth I offer you this body. To the sky I offer you my wings. To my love I offer up my soul. I offer up to you my soul. Come fly. Yes, baby fly. Oh, all alone. Oh, all alone. Yes, baby fly.
So a couple of announcements for you, and then we get to have one more song with JP Falcon. Today is the men's group. They're meeting, and they're having a really interesting conversation today. It's part of a larger conversation that's going on called The More Beautiful World, which is an opportunity to build a vivid and compelling vision for the world we each want to live in. So the men are going to be having this conversation today, and even if you're just hearing about it, you've never been to the men's group, they will be meeting at noon in the classroom, and you are welcome to come and attend. If you have questions, Philip Flores is the leader of the men's circle. He's in the back there, and we'd love you to join them for this really special opportunity. Next Sunday, after the service, we have a delightful vendor from our Mind, Body, Spirit Fair who wanted to offer her gratitude to the center in the form of a fundraiser. and her name is Christy Mosley. She does a wonderful sound journey, and she's going to be offering it to us. You need to buy tickets at her website, mysticheartbeats.com, and it'll start at noon in the lower meadow with the big tent that's down there, and you can bring a lawn chair, or a lot of us during these sound journeys, we bring a yoga mat and a blanket and lay down. And that's what I did when she was here during the fair. It was incredible. She's incredible. So you're invited to come to that. Very sweet of her to offer that. We also are closing the office tomorrow. Tomorrow is Clara's birthday. Yes. And she has 2 older sisters, and they wanted to have the day with her. So they're going to Artist Point. And I am camping. And so we're closing the office just for Monday, and Clara will be back to answer any questions on Tuesday. Also, Reverend Colleen, who is the Minister Emeritus here, is offering a free introductory class. It's 4 weeks long. She's working with Susan Jancic. And it's really kind of about the things I've been talking about the last 2 weeks, the real basic ideas of our philosophy and how to apply them. And it's a lead-in free class to other classes that are coming right after that. I'll be teaching one right after her 4 weeks. That's a 5-week class. And you're invited to take this one to just kind of drop in, get to know the philosophy, be a part of it. It's going to be happening in the classroom from 6 to 8, starting August 20th on Tuesday nights for 4 weeks. There's a sign-up sheet for that in the classroom at the Ask Me desk, and we'd love you to sign up so that if she has material, she has enough to give everyone who would like to come. It's really a rare opportunity to learn from such an incredible teacher who's been in the tradition almost as long as I have. So we'd love you to be a part of that. And I wanted to point out Ann Richardson Smith. And Ann is one of several women from CSL Bellingham who have joined together to create an incredible women's retreat out at Seebeck Conference Center, which is located on the Hood Canal. Absolutely stunningly beautiful retreat center. And I know this retreat will be a very special, very beautiful opportunity for any women who would like to go. It is happening from September 25th to the 29th, and this is where you would register. You can also talk to Ann after the service. She's going to be right up here. If you have questions, if you're just hearing about it and would really like to come. The theme is nurturing harmony, both inwardly and outwardly. So working inwardly to understand and open, but also working with the many opportunities for 100% personal responsibility in the outer world that are everything from politics to anything else you could think of. So it's a really interesting retreat with lots of opportunities for meeting other women from not just here, but many women are coming from different places and having some personal work. So talk to Ann if you're interested. And then this last week, Dougie's death-defying burger event happened yesterday. Thank you, Dougie, Mike and Pat, and all who went and were part of it. If you're just hearing about this, every year we do this beautiful fundraiser where people volunteer to cook a dinner or a lunch or have an event, and then all of us bid for a place at all those tables. And it raises a bunch of money for the center. It raised $17,600 this year, highest we've ever raised. And people like Dougie and Mike and Pat make that happen, and all of you who bid. So thank you very much, and may the season continue. There's more to come. Right now I'm going to invite J.P. Falcon to stand. And you know, this looks like a song that if you're able to stand, why don't we stand and sing it too?
Oh, yes, nice deep breath. This little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All of my life, I'm gonna let it shine. All of my life, I'm gonna let it shine. All of my life, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you.